What's up, guys? This is Guillermo Auto. I'm doing a water pump on a 2014 or 2015 RAV4 with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. They're not too bad. This is going to be a two-part video. We'll go ahead and get into it. First, you can tell your water pump's leaking if you see coolant on the tensioner right there. Also, if you see it sprayed on the hood, that means it's just been leaking and flinging up on the hood. You might see it in nearby places as well. It's pink coolant. So first thing we got to do is get the alternator out to get to the water pump bolts. I recommend disconnecting the battery, negative and positive. This is my negative. I put a rag around it so it doesn't jump up there and connect. This is why, because this is a positive right here. This is your positive power, and say you're like, wrenching on this and then you touch it to something, like you touch your ratchet to something, it can ground out. So if I had this on here, I could just kind of ground out. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the positive two. Just put a rag on that as well. Get it out the way. And then, yep, so now we want to come down here and disconnect this. Get that plastic piece off, and then disconnect this 10mm bolt. That's just your alternator wire. And this comes right off. Just go ahead and get that off. Next, you want to disconnect this alternator connector. Basically, there's a tab on the right side of it. And you push the tab and disconnect it. I'll show you what I mean right here. It doesn't just pull off. So, this tab on the right, you push the end of it, and then where that little hole is, that'll release off of a little latch. Then we want to get this 10mm bracket bolt off. Go ahead and get that off. And we're getting everything disconnected from the alternator, so we can get the alternator out, so get that off. Alright, and get that out the way. Now, there's the 14mm bolt for the alternator. There's two bolts that hold the alternator in place. I got onto it with a wrench. I have like a gear wrench here that fits in perfectly to get it. You can probably get in there with a socket and a ratchet. But first, we gotta get this belt off. Let's get this belt off. Basically, how you get this belt off is you move the tensioner, and the tensioner releases, and you can pop the belt right off. This is a view from underneath the car. Here's the tensioner right here. And I used a 14mm wrench to get on this and release it. So basically, you put your wrench on that 14mm spot sticking out, and then you move the tensioner back like this, and then you can see the belt is no tension on it, and then you can pull it off the pulleys. Get it off a pulley that's a smooth pulley, not like a ridge pulley. That'd be easier if you can. I can just pop it off right here. The ridged pulleys, they have lips on them, and it makes it harder to get the belt off. So you can do this from the top. You don't have to do it from the bottom. This is just from the bottom, just to show you like up close what I'm doing. So go ahead and get this off. And if you want to go this way, I'll show you how to get to this spot. I'm going to get my belt out. So if you want to get in there, it's from the side, and you take your wheel off, 21mm. Just take your wheel off, take that black cover off. It sits right here, and there's 4 clips I hold in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll show you what the clips look like that. Of course, you'll have to jack up your vehicle, and to get these clips off, you just pop the top out, and then you can get in there, jack up your vehicle safely. But once your belt's off, you can get this out the way. Just lift up that tab. That should come right off, no problem. Just lift up the tab gently, you can pull it off. And then we can get to the bolts here real easy. I also disconnect this connector to be out of the way, because I don't want to break any connectors or wires, wrenching. And I don't want to have to like strain. But yeah, I'm going to get this 14mm bolt out right here. This is probably the easier one to get. There's only 2 bolts that hold the alternator in. So we'll go ahead and get this out. This is the longer of the 2. It comes out here. Alright. And you might have to wrench it the whole time if your car is older. It's 2017 now when I'm making this video, and this is a 2014. So no rust really has gotten into threads. The next bolt is down there. 14mm deep socket with a longer ratchet is what I use to get to it. There's tons of different variations you could use to get to it though. This is just what I used, what I had available. So get on that 14mm bolt, and then I got down here. Once I got it loose, I could undo it. And again, if your car is older, the threads might be a little more rough, and you might have to ratchet it the whole time to get it out. But I was able to get this out. Now with this, the alternator will not just come out. It's on this little, I don't know what the word is, this hinge right here. So you can work it out with your hands. Just keep massaging it. But if you have like a pry bar, you can pry very, very gently. Don't damage your alternator, just to kind of get it looser. And it comes off that spot right here is what I'm talking about. And it's just machined to just like barely fit in the alternator, just to kind of hold it in place. But we get your alternator out, and then you can take this bracket out too if you want to help to get the alternator out. This is kind of in my way, but I got it around it. So down here is your water pump. I know it's kind of hard to see, but these are the bolts right here. In the next video, we're going to take this water pump out and put the new one in, put everything back together. But that's it. That's it for how to get to it. And I'll show you, this is what the new water pump looks like. As you can see, it's kind of like an odd shape, and it runs up the side of the engine just like this, and then all you do is disconnect the bolts, and then you can get your new one on. Little tip, this brand, AISIN, A-I-S-I-N, they make the Toyota water pumps. So if you go to Toyota and get a water pump, it could be really expensive, but if you actually just go to the website of AISIN, you can get the same exact water pump for possibly cheaper. Make sure it has this gasket as well. You'll need this. And yeah, that's it, guys. See you in part 2.